Good morning, everyone. Just going to welcome to the Small Business Week Summit, our second session today. I'm just going to give everybody a few moments here to cascade in, and we'll get underway. I hope everybody's having a great Wednesday morning. Okay, well, it's 8:30. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I'm excited to welcome you to our second session of the 2025 Small Business Week Summit. And today we are going to be hearing a presentation which we've titled Inclusive Hiring, Strategies to Build Diverse and Resilient Workforces. I'm Alex McMillan. I'm the interim CEO of the BC Chamber of Commerce, and I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are broadcasting this conversation from the unceded traditional territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. And I'd like to acknowledge that many of you are joining from other areas and different territories throughout the province. As the large business organization in the province, representing over 80 chambers of commerce and boards of trade, and collectively 32,000 businesses of every size and from every sector and region of British Columbia, the BC Chamber of Commerce, we believe, has unrivaled reach into all corners of the province and a deep understanding of what business needs. And it's that reach that has allowed us to curate the content for this week's Small Business Summit, Small Business Week Summit. Content that we hope will inspire you, stretch your mind, give you some practical tools and confidence to try new things. And as always, events like this would not be possible without the generous support of our partners. A reminder that there is a business of the business leadership that we enjoy in this province and that we don't take for granted. So I would like to begin by thanking our 2025 Small Business Week sponsors. Our presenting sponsor is BC Hydro, and our session sponsors are the Chamber's Planned Employee Benefits and the Immigrant Employment Council of BC, who you will be hearing from shortly. And our community sponsor is BCIT School of Media and Business. I would also like to thank our year-round pillar partners, many of whom may be joining us today. So thank you very much for being here. They are the Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers, CN Rail, Enbridge, Fortis BC, LNG Canada, the Prince Rupert Port Authority, RBC, Tourmaline, and Vancouver Fraser Port Authority. Thank you all sincerely for your support today and throughout the year. All right, just before we get underway, let's just cover off. We do want to have a conversation and engage with folks. And so if you have questions that come up that you would like to have answered, please use the Q&A function. You'll find that at the bottom of your screen, the little box with the question mark says Q&A. Please pop the questions in there, and after the presentations, I'll facilitate a conversation with our presenters and hopefully get in as many questions as we can. So keep them coming. All right, without further ado, I am pleased to welcome our speakers for today's session. I'm very excited about this, and I'm very excited about the work that the Immigrant Employment Council of BC and the BC Chamber of Commerce may be able to do moving forward in the future. So, but let me just introduce Patrick McKenzie, CEO of the IEC BC, Sim Nisbet, founder and HR consultant for BC HR Consultants, and LM Urshad, associate director at Immigrant Employment Council. Patrick, over to you.
Alex, thanks so much. And I really want to thank the Chamber for having us here today. Small Business Week is, I think it's a fantastic time to be out and recognizes the importance of the small businesses in BC's economy for sure. So the Immigrant Employment Council of British Columbia, we're a nonprofit. We're based out of Vancouver, but we work right across the province and in fact right across the country. And what makes us unique is that in the context of those who work in the immigration space, we're actually very much focused on what do employers need to make best use of the immigrant talent that chooses to come to British Columbia. People often forget that immigrants must choose Canada before Canada gets a chance to choose them. And it's important that employers are able to access that talent and really create that opportunity that immigrants are seeking, and that they not be excluded from that when it comes to where their careers could go and how they can contribute to the economy. But how do we do that? We spend a lot of time talking to employers. We spend a lot of time working with them and developing new tools and resources to help address the challenges that they face in finding, recruiting, hiring, and retaining immigrant talent. It's not an altogether different challenge from any sort of hiring process, but there are nuances that we want to help make sure that employers are able to navigate and feel confident in doing so. And we do that because we want immigrants to see BC as the number one place in the world to go to realize whatever opportunity and seize whatever dreams it is that they have for themselves or their families for the future. And to do that, employers must be able to recognize and tap into that talent and create that space. So with like, why do we do that? And sort of what's the larger context here for the work that we do? Well, I mean, immigration matters, and certainly these days, immigration has been on a lot of people's minds over the last couple of years, in particular. Over the last 5 to 8 years, we've seen unprecedented growth in the numbers of newcomers that would come to Canada, and that created both an opportunity and a challenge for communities. And actually, what we've seen, and there was polling released yesterday that talked about a serious sort of reduction in public support for immigration, and the numbers, in particular, the perceived numbers of folks who are coming to Canada, both as temporary and permanent residents. And so, with immigration, I think we have to remember that it's a policy tool. And immigration itself is neither good nor bad. It can just be done poorly or done well. And employers play a critical role in seeing that we are doing it well. So that we need to be sure that government policies and government programs are responsive to what employers need. But at the same time, ensure that each of you and other colleagues that you work with, counterparts that you work with, are equipped to tap into that talent pool. We see labor shortages. We've seen labor shortages and been hearing about pending greater labor shortages in skill shortages in British Columbia. Immigration has been seen as sort of a significant part of the answer to solving those challenges and those needs that employers would have. Keeping in mind, immigration is not the silver bullet. It is not the only answer to the labor market needs, but it's an important one, and we want you to be able to take advantage of that. When we talk about inclusive hiring, diversity, equity, and inclusion has become a bit of a lightning rod over the last number of years. And really, what we're talking about here is making sure that as a business, you're not missing out on opportunity. It's not about hiring folks because they're an immigrant. It's not about hiring folks because they're representative of a particular group. It's about making sure that you're not excluding them, for no good reason, essentially. And so it's not a values-based choice. This isn't about corporate social responsibility. It's a strategic solution for your business. It's a smart business strategy in a time of increasing competition for that talent. Now, of course, the economy is a bit shaky right now, and we're seeing increases in unemployment. Yet at the same time, we're hearing from businesses and from employers that they're having difficulty finding specific talent that they need. By the province's own numbers, we figure that over the next decade, 46% of job openings will be filled by new immigrants. That is that's a massive proportion of the incoming labor market, and for businesses to not be able to tap into that would be a critical error for them. And so that's why we're working more closely with the BC Chamber of Commerce to help equip its members and its member organizations to be able to do so. So with this, we're certainly looking to make each of you much more innovative and competitive. Data shows that, in fact, when you increase the diversity within your workplace, that your revenue starts to grow. And depending on how creative the industry, it grows even at an even greater rate. And so again, we really thank Alex and thanking the team here for making it possible for us to join you all today. So, and again, excuse me, sorry, I'm just fighting the tail end of a cold here. So if I'm a little hoarse, I do apologize. So again, looking at it as inclusive hiring as a growth strategy and a resilient strategy for your organization. Ideally, for most of us, we'd want our teams to reflect the communities that we serve and the client base that we're looking to serve, so that we can become, or you can become, stronger, smarter, and more sustainable. And in fact, then growing a stronger, smarter, and more sustainable, more resilient community to deal with any of the challenges that might come forth. And certainly, businesses in BC are no stranger to challenges these days, like other parts of the country as well, with political instability and uncertainty. And again, that's a key part of the work that we're trying to do here at the Immigrant Employment Council, is bring concerns and views of businesses to government, so that in fact, when we're looking to change the way immigration is done, it's done in a way that serves you better, makes it easier for you to not only find the talent that's already here in Canada, but then ultimately shape those who come in the future to better meet your needs. And Elham will speak to practical strategies and tools that we've created in partnership with some of you on this call, in fact, and many others across the province and around the country. So thank you. Elham, I'll turn it over to you now.
Yes, thank you so much, Patrick. Good morning, everyone. In today's labor market, as Patrick also mentioned, small businesses are the backbone of BC's economy, making up 98% of all businesses. In fact, it looks like that 95% are small businesses. They play a vital role in shaping inclusive workplaces. Inclusive hiring today isn't not just about the diversity or values, it's a smart business strategy that drives innovative retention and competitiveness. At ICBC, we work hand in hand with small and medium-sized employers to make inclusion practical but not complicated. The initiative I'm about to share with you, like Ascent for Employees, B2B Mentor Connect, and Employer Feedback Channel, are just a few of many programs we've been designed with SMEs in mind. Every solution we developed is grounded in the feedback and insight we've gathered directly from employers, especially SMEs. My understanding is that Jen will be so kind and will send you all of the information and details and the links to all of these programs, but you can always reach out to us if you are interested to know more. I'm going to give you a quick brief about all of these programs, but please don't worry, everything is in our website as well. Next slide, please. The first program is Ascent for Employees, or as we call it, helping employers build inclusion, productive workplaces. Ascent for Employees is a self-paced e-learning program that employers can offer to their newcomers employees to help them succeed from day one. Through engaging scenario-based modules, internationally trained professionals gain practical insight into Canadian workplace culture, communication style, and professional expectations, helping them integrate confident, being so confident and also contribute to the work. Most of the scenarios and the examples that we have in this type of program is directly what we heard from SMEs. So you find them really relevant and really easy for your employees to understand. This inclusive onboarding solution was designed especially actually for SMEs. It's all about helping businesses integrate newcomers' talent effectively, and it's not just about to hire them, it's also about to retain them. It gives both employers and employees simple, practical tools to strengthen communication and their teamwork. Employers can easily incorporate Ascent for Employees into their onboarding professional development initiative, So it's not replacing your onboarding. It's supposed to actually be a complementary tools to your existing onboarding. We understand most of the SMEs are sharing with us that they either don't have a designated HR department or they are working on making it stronger. So the feedback we heard from some of the employers who has practiced, who has actually tried this pilot was super positive. They said we feel that this could really complement our onboarding process. Next slide. The B2B Mentor Connect is actually one of my favorite programs because it's all about employers learning from each other. We connect businesses that have already hired and retained immigration talent with those who just starting the journey. What makes it powerful is that it's real and it's also actually based on real stories, real examples, and practical solutions that works in every business's context. This peer-to-peer learning model is particularly valuable for small employers who might not have dedicated HR team, as we discussed. And it's truly captured the spirit of a Small Businesses Week, entrepreneurs helping one another to grow. Each connection we create through B2B Mentor Connect sparks a ripple effect of inclusion that spreads across industries and communities. For employers participating as mentees, this means that they have access to practical insight and guidance from experienced mentors on inclusive hiring practices, workforces development, and culture building. What we do with this program, we connect employers, SMEs, with larger organizations who have a really strong practices in place, have years of experience. So it benefits you to connect with very strong employers that can directly and coach you and mentor you as well. And it will be a two-way street for sure. You can support them for sure as well. The opportunity to leverage the knowledge of mentor to deepen understanding of diverse talent pool and thereby enrich the organization of workforce. For mentors and employers, the program fosters leadership, coaching, and learning culture benefits for newcomers talent involved in related mentoring program. It facilitates integration, network building, and better understanding of Canadian workplace context. Next slide, please. Employer feedback channel. Finally, our employee feedback channel is how we stay connected with employers across BC and actually Canada and ensure that every one of our programs is grounded in the real experience. The employer feedback channel provide a structured channel for employers to share their perspective, experience, and insight around integration, skilled immigrant talent into their workforce. The initiative is specially designed to amplify employers' voice, not just capturing newcomers or service provider views, but focusing on what employers are observing and what obstacles they face. In these type of sessions, it's all about employers. We are always go, and the first sentence we say is that we are just here to hear from you. We are not here to tell you what to do. You are the expert. You know exactly what to do, but we are here to hear your voice, what's working for you, what's not. And surprisingly, we are hearing a lot of success stories and solutions as well. Earlier this month, actually, on October 8th in Vancouver, we hosted a new round of sessions where over 40 employers from sectors like education, technologies, healthcare, and skills trade shared their insight. What we heard was very clear. Small and medium-sized employers are ready and eager to hire newcomer talent, but they still face barriers from credential recognition, um, a lot of barriers that we are hearing that might be common when we are in one region, and when we travel to rural regions like Prince George, Campbell River, Powell River, Victoria, Nanaimo, some of the barriers and solutions can be different as well. Despite these challenges, there was a strong sense of optimism. Employers increasingly seeing an inclusion as a competitive advantage rather than an obligation. The feedback we collect through this channel feeds directly into how we shape our programs like Ascent for Employees and B2B Mentor Connect. So they truly meet the employers where they are. It's a continuous conversation, listening, learning, and co-designing together. For employers participating in the forum, it means that they are being a part of shaping policies and program design, because your feedback helps inform both government and organizations' strategies related to the talent integration, and learning from peers across sectors and regions. Hearing what other employers have hired, what's worked for them, what didn't, if they practice something, and some solutions. We have numerous feedback forum coming until end of this fiscal year, which is end of March. We are traveling to Victoria and Nanaimo, as well as Campbell River. And sometimes we travel back because we want to get deeper to the conversation we have had. Maybe since the last session, we came up with a solution, with a program, with the initiative, and we want to share it with the employer. So it's not a one-time session. It's not a one-time solution. It's something that we want to continuously doing, because we feel that your voice is the only thing that matters. Most of the feedback forums that we have planned until end of this fiscal year is in our website as well, but we'll be sending it through Jen to you. So if you're interested, please join us for the next sessions. And now I'm pleased to invite our speaker of the day, Sim. Sim is a certified human resources professional and the founder of BC HR Consultant, with over a decade of HR leadership experience across the Lower Mainland and Vancouver Island. Thank you so much, Sim. Pass it on to you.
Thank you, Ilham. Hi, everyone. I'm really happy to be here today. I'm very excited, and as well because there are a couple of reasons. One is that I have worked with SMEs for a long time, more than 15 years now. And also I'm a former immigrant myself, who went through the challenges and opportunities. And yeah, I'm really happy to be here. So I'll be sharing some insights on inclusive hiring today, the challenges, the myths, and the real opportunities for small and mid-sized businesses. We can go to the first slide, please. Thank you. So let's just talk about why inclusive hiring matters. In today's labor market, SMEs face real challenges competing with large employers that offer higher pay and benefits. Inclusive hiring can change that by reaching hidden talent pools, immigrants, underrepresented groups, and the ones also career switchers are some examples. Small businesses can access skilled, motivated people, often overlooked. These hires bring global perspectives and adaptability that helps teams thrive. Inclusive workplaces also strengthen community ties and build a positive employer brand, something large corporations can't easily replicate. Next one, please. So I wanted to look at myths and realities that I hear a long time when I'm in HR business as well. And also when I was a first comer 13 years ago, there were lots of going on between immigrants and workers looking for jobs. So the myth is inclusive hiring is too expensive. Reality, it saves money and reduces turnover, actually. So I would like to share a research by Business Development Bank of Canada that found that SMEs adopting inclusive workplace practices experience higher employee engagement, reduced turnover, improved recruitment, and greater creativity and problem-solving capacity. That's very important. So I have seen turnover costs far outweigh the cost of adapting onboarding. In one SME, adapting training for a newcomer, for instance, paid back quickly through retention. That's what I observed as one of the examples. When we go to the second myth, we can talk about processes are too complicated. This is also another myth. The reality is supports and partnerships already exist. So employers don't have to do this alone. As Elham also mentioned, detailed, and there are more information coming up. IEC, BC, and local community agencies, and there are lots of also immigrant agencies as well in everywhere. So they offer free tools, templates, mentorship supports, and lots of tools for immigrants as well, like to matching systems as well. So to make inclusive hiring easier for SMEs. In HR, I often saw managers hesitate to interview candidates with strong resumes but limited English. They worried it would take too much time to hire some immigrant. But once they tried using clearer interview questions and slightly slowing the onboarding pace, then they realized that how small adjustments can make big differences. With the right support, inclusion becomes simpler than imagined. The other myth is immigrants won't stay long term. So actually, they would like to stay, and loyalty grows with inclusion. That's also important to remember. Another stat I'd like to share is a research from the Institute for Canadian Citizenship shows that immigrants who feel a strong sense of belonging and optimism about their future in Canada are much more likely to stay long term. In fact, each 1% increase in optimism is linked to a 28% higher likelihood of remaining in the country. Either on Vancouver Island or the mainland, lower mainland, I worked and helped businesses. I have seen SMEs retain immigrant employees for years once they invested in belonging and inclusion. When employees feel connected, supported, and see the growth opportunities, they want to stay and contribute in the long term. And the last one, not least, but the lack of Canadian experience, my favorite. I suffered a lot with this as well because I was like, what is really Canadian experience? Actually, when employers mention Canadian experience, it's not often about technical skills or other things related to that. It's more about understanding the workplace culture. But that can be learned. With good onboarding and mentorship, newcomers quickly adapt how things are done. What they already bring is expertise, global perspectives, and motivation. This is something we cannot teach. Instead of seeing Canadian experience as an obstacle, we can see it as an opportunity to grow through diversity. I'd like to share another stat for that. So today, 28% of Canada's workforce is racialized, representing a wide range of international skills, languages, and experiences. At some of the CPHR meetings as a professional HR People's Association, the roundtables and the meetings, and SMEs shared that how hiring immigrants brought fresh problem-solving approaches and new ways of thinking, sparking innovation and helping them to connect better with diverse customers as well. Next slide, please. Thank you. So I would like to bring up some important facts, the comparison between the lower mainland and the island that I have experienced by myself too in my HR business as well, and the work companies I work for. So as you see in the chart that there are differences are listed. So basically there are different markets, but same need for inclusion. So in the lower mainland, when we look at it, the labor pool is much larger, but also means the competition is difficult, more harder and fierce. With so many immigrants and such a cultural environment, SMEs often struggle to differentiate themselves. It can feel like being a small fish in a big pond, competing with bigger employers who can offer higher pay or benefits. The upside is that the diversity infrastructure is already built in. There is a better public transit, more settlement agencies, and more inclusive practices in place. However, on the Vancouver Island, the picture changes a bit. So labor pools are smaller and the relationship driven, but the barriers can be higher as well. Transportation is one of the biggest challenges. Many newcomers cannot afford a car, and public transport is very limited. And there are lots of remote places that manufacturers or other big companies build in, so it's very difficult to reach those places. There are also fewer immigrant services and communities, while close-knit can sometimes be harder for newcomers to break into. Another thing I'd like to add, I haven't added here, but the accommodation was also a big problem, housing. I remember hiring, like I was interviewing good co-workers from all over the world, and then they come here and we were about to hire them, and then all of a sudden they say they couldn't find any apartment to rent in Nanaimo or in on the island somewhere else, and then they just had to say, I'm sorry, I cannot take the job, I cannot live here. So that was unfortunate, and this was one of very oftenly we have seen as well. So despite these differences, both regions face the same fundamental challenge of attracting and retaining talent. Inclusive hiring is the strategy that helps SMEs to compete. Next, please. So all of the years, we have heard so many insights from SMEs, and I would like to touch into that as well a little bit. So across these meetings I joined for the HR meetings for professionals, and I was part of the Canadian manufacturers and exporters groups to add some inclusion, especially for women in the workforces too. I have seen awareness of equity, diversity, and inclusion growth. Employers are talking about it more than ever, but many still struggle with the how. So the how is very important. A recent HR reporter survey showed that only 6% of employers list inclusive hiring as a top business priority, which highlights the gap between awareness and the real action. And also, I would like to touch base on that. I have found that success often starts with the leadership. With senior leaders and hiring managers receive training on inclusive practices, things begin to change. Learning how to recognize bias, adapt interviews, and support diverse teams makes a real impact. These leaders become champions for inclusion later. The culture then shifts from good intentions to everyday action. That's when true transformation happens. Next, please. Thank you. So I would like to now take a look at the benefits of inclusive hiring. So let's just look at how to connect SMEs with immigrant talent pipelines. So inclusive hiring is more than just filling positions. It brings new ideas, creativity, and innovation. Immigrant employees often contribute technical expertise, global perspectives, and language skills that strengthen teams. Inclusive workplaces build a sense of belonging, which attracts people who want to grow and stay. When employees feel respected and included, morale rises and turnover drops. Diverse teams also adapt faster to change, making the whole organization stronger and more resilient. Next, please. So if you look at some practical strategies for creating belonging and growth opportunities, what would they be? I'd like to start with the recruitment, which is the very important step for making sure that we start with a good intention that we know also what we are doing. So at the hiring stage, small shifts make a big difference. Rewarding job postings to focus on skills instead of narrow requirements, using structured interviews to reduce bias, and partnering with agencies, schools to open new pipelines. So I would like to stress this as connecting schools as well, because I have done it a lot in practice, and it really helped me a lot. I always connected with schools in the locations that I worked with. And what I did is there were two things. I either went to them and presented the companies. So before they graduated, I meet them. I wanted them to see a representative as an HR person from a company, and then have some relationship with them, and then answer their questions. help them how they can work on their resumes. And this helped them to get the courage to just understand also that, HR people are not people that you have to scare of or also. So, and then when I bring the company to them, they had the chance more to understand what's going on so they can build their careers according to that and then keep in contact, keep in touch with us. So it's like more of like a future investment for the company as well to just make sure that you have good connections with the schools. And also, we used to, in some of the manufacturing companies I work for, we used to have days for high school students from technical places that they came and visited the facilities and asked their questions. So they saw what is it like to be an assembler, what is it like to be an engineer, or vice versa. So they had opportunities to see what does a workplace be like. So this is also another important thing to do. And also, it allows SMEs to reach diverse graduates, or also there are lots of international students, including newcomers and underrepresented youth. It helps them build confidence, understand workplace expectations, and see your organization as welcoming and inclusive. It also strengthens your company's reputation in the community as an employer that values opportunity for everyone. So can we move the next slide, please? Okay, thank you. I'd like to also, before coming to retention, wanna just add, after hiring, inclusion continues through mentorship, structured like onboarding and manager trainings, which are very important internally as well. Even simple gestures like multicultural lunches or celebrating cultural days build belonging and show that diversity is truly valued. So retention is very important for the companies, and it is the most difficult one. Retention is where inclusion pays off. Employees stay when they feel seen, respected, and supported. Flexibility, growth opportunities, and cultural competence training all build trust. Recognizing diverse contributions, even small celebrations, keep people engaged. SMEs that invest in these practices create loyal and resilient teams. Next, please. Thank you. So, yeah, I think we moved through that. Yes, the next one, please. Yeah, challenges. So yes, we might have some challenges that we are facing as well. Resistance to change happens in almost every workplace. So change sometimes creates fear, and that's completely normal and can feel uncomfortable, especially when resources are limited. But inclusive practices don't need big budgets. Small steps could be worked, like partnering with agencies, adjusting onboarding, or updating policies can make a real difference. Even small progress builds momentum. Over the time, inclusion becomes part of every practice. These efforts help SMEs grow stronger, more innovative, and better prepared for future labor changes. I want to add something from my experience at the workplaces. The big challenge is always when we started creating a new policy for inclusion and diversity. So I worked in the meetings that we are creating the new policy, and when I tried to get buy-in, it was not easy to show how much impact it would be bringing. So to support that, I would like to share a personal story that I have had in my HR experience from a workplace. That we were in a hiring time that was too fast, and we were hiring like monthly 30 employees all over, and then most of them were assemblers. depending on the workplace's manufacturing times, it was important times that we make sure that we find the amount that we are looking for. So the biggest problem is we couldn't. It was very limited, and we were like out of our all sources, connections, networking, and we were suffering. And I had lots of resumes that were belonged to new immigrants as well. However, they were not accepted because there was a fear to see that, okay, if they don't know English, what are we going to do? So that was a big problem, and I was very unhappy just not finding a solution for it, because I knew that most of them were a good match for what we were looking for. And then I said, okay, I started talking to the hiring managers and the supervisor. I said, what if I find a match who has basic skills of English that would support the, safety, that can understand, in the safety situations. However, we can train them later. Would you like to try that? So they say, okay, we will give it a try. And then I have searched and I found this gentleman who came also from Turkey, as I am. His basic language, his English was not like a beginner. However, he had experience in health and safety as well, so he knew the basics of that, what he should know about safety. So it wasn't difficult for him to understand the new safety rules at the workplace. So that was our main concern. So we covered that part. And then we said, okay, I talked to him. He was an older gentleman. I asked him what is his future expectation. He said he wants to stay until he retires. And he had a very good matching technical skills as well. So we gave him a chance, and he was very happy, and he was very motivated through that. In 2 weeks of time, he tried to catch up with so many things at the workplace, and he started producing very earlier than we expected. And his positive attitude also brought lots of help into the workplace culture as well. And he started training and welcoming and like having great relationships with the young generation that are so new to the system as well. So he helped them through that too. And what we did is we supported this gentleman with some English courses, online courses. It didn't really cost so much for the company either. And then we fixed that problem too. And then he was so motivated because he had the job. So he just improved his English skills very quickly as well. So as in this example, you see that like there are many different things we can look through. As long as we are flexible, it's very easy to find different solutions for our inclusion needs as well. So I'd like to thank you all for your time today. I want to conclude with inclusive hiring is not only a business advantage, it's a community investment. When we create workplaces where everyone contributes fully, we build stronger, more adaptable organizations and a more resilient province. Now I would like to turn it over Alex now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sim. Thank you, Elham, and thank you, Patrick. Thanks very much for that very informative and in-depth look at this. And it has sparked a lot of questions in my mind. And so at this point, I'm going to just remind folks to use, if you have questions for Elham and Patrick or for Sim, you can put them in the Q&A. We're seeing some come in. I'm going to ask some live. There might be some more that are in depth. I know Elham has answered some here as we're going along. So please engage. That's a great way, but to have some conversation. But I'm going to maybe just pose the first question here, and it got me thinking. And I think this is probably a Patrick and Elham question, just around the different programs that IECBC has. I mean, I'm thinking, and it was actually something, Sim, you said around that inclusion breeds loyalty, which I mean, I think that's probably true for most of us. If you feel more included in a workplace, whether you're an immigrant or born here, you're gonna have more loyalty. And I guess, you know, that it's that understanding the Canadian workplace culture. And I just wonder, are there I mean, Elham, you mentioned just a few programs that you have, but are there other programs that IEC BC has to kind of attack that what seems like a big issue that I've heard about around the province, around how do we get at that you know, education around workplace culture?
Thank you so much, Alex. This is actually the main thing we do at IECBC, because what we are hearing when we travel or we talk with employers in Vancouver, Lower Mainland, or when we travel in rural areas, is that hiring is a challenge, but retention is definitely seems to be the bigger challenge for now. When we travel to Prince George, for instance, we talked with employers and they said that we have a lot of qualified, wonderful newcomers that come to the region. They stay for a year, and once they have the Canadian work experience, they are moving back to larger cities with better salaries, more opportunities. As Sim also mentioned, it looks like that there are definitely more opportunities. And then one of the employers mentioned, we wish that we can come up with a policy that we bring people to the regions that they want to come and stay with us, because retention is something that is the most challenge that we are facing right now. We have had all of our programs are about attracting, hiring, and retention. I named some of them, like we have programs such as Talent Connect, which we are helping employers to hire the right candidates who will hopefully stay with and grow with the organization. We have programs like Ascent for Employees that helps employers, as I mentioned, to onboard the new employees who are newcomers in a way that they feel they have the sense of belonging. They feel that uh, they started everything correctly and they are growing with the organization as well. So absolutely, if you are feeling that you are in need of our help, please reach out to us. We are more than happy to refer uh, your the people who you hired, the newcomer talent that you hired, or if you are in the process of hiring, we are more than happy to support you with what you need. The other pilot project that we just launched last summer is a navigator pilot project that is a very holistical approach and resource for employers who are reaching out to us with their need at the moment. Their need might change, we know that. And sometimes retention could be the reason that they're looking for some resources. We have a navigator staff within all of our offices that are supporting the employers. They hear them out, they listen to what are their needs, and then they find them the right resources and answers if we don't have it at the moment. So we either have the answers or we'll find it for you.
That's awesome. Patrick, is there anything you want to add to what Ellen has shared?
Well, I mean, I just jump in on a couple of points. I mean, especially when you're talking about retention in smaller centers, this is not unique to newcomers. I'm from Nova Scotia. Grew up there. The provincial population stayed static for a very long time, but Halifax's population grew. And so it was, smaller towns, folks emptying out into the cities. And so this is a persistent challenge. And that brings me actually sort of to, I think it builds on sort of a question that Colleen asked. It's immigration is sort of a whole of society exercise. And so, well, I say immigration is integration is. The selection comes back to the government. But when it comes to creating a community or creating that sense of space where someone wants to stay, something that's sticky for individuals, you know, like Colleen's question here, you're right to ask who else is out there to help with this, and who are the other actors that are out there playing a role, and how do we build that sense of community that makes people want to stay. And so it's looking for those partners who are out there And it's like, yes, there are groups like us, and there are groups like, there are different immigrant settlement groups that are out there, but there are others in the community who are doing things to create that sense of belonging, so more broadly. And I just pick up on one thing around the question of Canadian experience. And this is, when asking for Canadian experience, and one thing I've really liked about the tone of the conversation here is that I think it really starts to hone in on a question of fit, and does this person understand how to operate in a Canadian workplace? And so, I would say no entrepreneur wants to be the first to market. They want to be the second, so they can learn from the mistakes of the first. And so, generally speaking, the feedback that we get is they want to see that folks have worked in a Canadian work setting, so that they know that they at least understand the nuances, so they can get along in their workplace, especially when it's a small business. Like, culture matters, fit does matter. And there are people who will argue with the expression fit. It's like you're trying to fit somebody into your own culture, or so a culture ad, but just that an individual helps make the company better, as opposed to creates a tension that distracts from the core business. And so this is where, Elham spoke about our Ascend program. I mean, that really came out of conversations with employers where, we asked them, what makes you say no to a candidate? And Canadian or immigrant, what makes you say no to them? And it really came down to those questions of how do they operate, like how do they sell themselves in the interview, the recruitment process, and then how do they operate in the workplace? And so we built that out for newcomers to teach them what employers are looking for from them. And then Elham spoke of our Ascend for Employees program. Well, this is now, we're turning that around and saying, okay, well, how about the folks who are already there? What do they need to know to be able to create that inclusive environment, that open environment that doesn't keep talent out, or act as a barrier to talent that might come with different attributes than you're used to?
Yeah, there's so many places I want to go in this conversation. One of the things you talked about there, Patrick, is finding those partners in those communities, because I think that and Sim, you had talked about that difference between Vancouver and Vancouver Island, but I think it would be probably reflective of the entire province, whether you're in Northeast BC or the Kootenays or the Okanagan. I guess, is there anywhere, and so you talked about partnerships and finding those other groups, is there anywhere in your guys' experience that you've seen that are doing it well, whether it be in BC or across Canada? I mean, I know you guys are talking to folks across Canada. Like, who's doing it well? Like, I also think of the entrepreneurs not wanting to be the second in. Well, let's learn from those who are doing it well. Are there any examples that come to mind for communities that seem to have been knocking it out of the park?
I mean, for me, there are two great examples. One's homegrown, and one's on the other side of the country. But Vernon has done a great job through their rural and northern immigration pilot participation. So this is a program that was created by the federal government to help bring folks or attract folks to smaller communities that aren't typically getting newcomers. And so with that, Vernon helped bring together all of the different players who could then say, okay, well, what role do I play in making sure that someone who chooses to come here feels like this is home and wants to stay? Now they had some strategies that worked really well for them. Like they weren't looking at sort of lower skilled, lower pay jobs. There's a fairly high threshold, so that helps with the stickiness, right? Because then they've got some economic stability. Other example that I'd look to is in the Atlantic provinces, where they started out with a pilot that's been made permanent, called the Atlantic Immigration Program. And that actually requires the employer to play a role in settlement. So the employer is active in helping the newcomer settle in the community and find those services and take care of those pieces that make things go more smoothly and build that better foundation. And so that was deemed a success. There's some really large employers that have had a voice in there, like Irving. It's not a name that's common out here, but I mean, the biggest players in the country, truthfully, and massive in the Atlantic and down the Eastern Seaboard. But it also worked pretty well for smaller businesses too. And so there are examples of how this can work. The great thing with this is I go to a conference and I talk to guys from out east, and I say, man, I hear this is going well. They go, oh yeah, well, you haven't heard about the problems, right? And so exactly to your point, Alex, it's like, let's learn from that and create this. And I think one of the hardest parts that we have to work on, and I've seen some data projections that, like, if Canada got to 100 million people through immigration and other population growth strategies, which we were actually on track to do a lot more quickly than we realize with the way immigration numbers were going over the last number of years. If Canada went to 100 million people, we're about 42, 43 right now, the population in the Atlantic provinces was only going to grow by roughly 1 million people. They were still going to Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver. So there's a lot of work. I spoke in Brandon, Manitoba a few years ago. It's the Paris of the prairies, and they. I said, like, your biggest challenge out here. So this is an engaged, excited, community, but nobody knows who the hell you are. So how do you do that? How do you create that attraction? And that's really the challenge.
Yeah. Well, there are some questions that are coming in, and once again, please don't hold back, folks. Use the Q&A function. There are some questions coming in, and some are very practical. And we also had some questions that some folks submitted in advance, and so I want to make sure we also get to some of those as we can. And I think this one, Elham and Sim in particular, I think you both touched on this, so I'm not sure who's best positioned to answer this one, but we talked about that inclusion language in sort of job interviews or applications, and so that, what are some? This is the question. What are some phrases? What are some common statements or phrases that are used in job posts that actually might limit the employers receiving applicants who might be immigrants here, those applicants? And I'm sort of thinking about one of the statements. I guess, Patrick, you said that is that this is just good business strategy. So what are some? Do you guys have any practical examples or thoughts on how to make sure that businesses and employers aren't limiting what applications they receive are there statements in those job posts that they might be using? I throw it out to whoever wants to tackle that.
I can start, but
Please.
I think Sim is definitely more qualified. For me, the Canadian workplace culture is all about communication, transparency, and respect. So we know that that's not really limiting the application. It's not going to limit the applicants to apply for the job. However, what we are hearing from the employers is that they are trying to make the job postings much more clear, transparent, and only asking for the requirement that is really necessary for that job. 80, I would say 60, 70% of the requirement in the job posting is relevant. It's depending on the need to fill up that posting or that role. But I saw, and I was in the non-for-profit sector for 20 years. I saw a big part of most of the job posting are just bullets that they're there just to fill up and make the job posting longer, and it's unnecessary. Thankfully, employers are much more smarter and much more mindful of now only asking for skills and requirement and expertise that is relevant, it's necessary, and it's needed for that job, and leave the rest when they're interviewing. So, and when they get to know the employee. The other thing that we are seeing is more transparency in terms of the benefit, the salary. Uh, I think as of, I believe November 1st, all employers are obligated to add the salary and the benefit in detail with their job posting. That I think will help the new candidates when they are thinking about hiring. when applying for that job. So I would say maybe just stick to what you really need. And then most of, and what we are hearing also when we are going into rural areas is that most of the employers are want to hire based on the passion and based off the interest. The skills are there for sure. They are skilled newcomers came to Canada. There's a reason they have been invited to Canada. So they are not much worried about the hard skill. They are more thinking about uh, soft skill or essential skill, as we call them. And if they find these skills in the new candidates, they are more open to give them the opportunity and hire them.
Okay. Sim, do you want to build on that, or?
I'd like to add a couple of things. I echo to Alham. Yes, it is very important. And sometimes there is a belief within companies that even with some HR, but if when they create like a posting, they think that if it is more complicated, it looks more
Mm-hmm.
cool or shows that we are a good company.
Mm.
There is no relevance to these things. The more clear it is, the more applicant will find you. And actually, if it is too complicated, if it looks like too scary, people will not apply, which I have experienced that before. And the other things is just keep it simple, keep it as how it is, tailor it specifically for the job. I mean, some details could be given other than on top of the general ones. That's if it is like a very specific job. And then, as Elham mentioned, that just leave it to the interview part, because it's very important to understand if this is a good match or not. And other thing as well, if it's very important, I know many companies started putting this statement for that, showing that they have policy for diversity and inclusion. It is very important and welcoming for the candidates to see that, because they will think and understand, oh, this is an inclusive workplace, and it will be more flexible for me to adapt the culture. So it's a good sign as well for candidates to see.
Right. That's very, very interesting. Just had a comment come over, and that also including the word flexibility also might impact on the gender. More female candidates also might come in, which I understand. I wanted to go back to specifically the B2B mentoring, and we had LMU answered one of the questions from Colleen. One of the questions that came up to me, and this is maybe I'm getting quite tactical level here, but on that B2B mentoring, is there some sense of, can you give the folks out there who might be intrigued by either becoming a mentor or becoming a mentee, some sense of the time commitment that this program might take for folks who like a lot of us are running at 90,000 miles an hour. We have barely enough time to figure out what we're going to make for dinner, let alone trying to it's one of those things, I guess, where you investing in what's important. And you often, because it's not an emergency, it doesn't happen. But this is one of those things where it might be important. So could you give a sense of time and maybe the commitment that you're looking for?
Absolutely. Alex, that's actually a very great question. Like any mentoring, of course, there will be a time commitment, but we totally understand that both mentor and mentees are employers running a business. They have a lot going on, and their main job is actually running their own business. However, because we see a lot of value and a lot of success, we left it very flexible. What we do at IECBC when a mentor or mentee shows interest, we looking, for instance, a mentee comes to us and they're looking for a mentor specifically with the sector. We have a champion employers. We call them employer advisory group at IECBC. Alex, you're actually one of them. We appreciate that. We look into the pool of wonderful employers we have. We try to find the best fit within the industry based on the need of the mentee. We make the introduction, and then we absolutely leave it to the mentor and mentee. Usually, this can go from 3 months to 6 months based on the need or availability of mentor and mentees. Sometimes these sessions can be over a phone, it can be an email, it can be a question, it can be a virtual meeting that the mentor and mentee make arrangement. We definitely are not interfering with any of that. We are definitely facilitate everything that we can. If either mentor or mentee needs support, will be there to support them. But what we heard, the time is not actually much of a problem. They found both mentor and mentee found it really organically. They can communicate with each other. Most of the time, it's through emails. That's what we are hearing. The question will be raised by a mentee. They send it to the mentor. Sometimes they meet for a coffee, which is so wonderful. They get to know each other. It's also about connection and networking as well. But it's not much of a time. Time is not really matters that much because they can make arrangement based on their schedules. And there's no expiry date for the program, really. We say 3 to 6 months. It can go as long as they need to, really.
Excellent. Thank you. We had a question come in, which I'll ask here to you guys, and it comes from Pauline, who's an immigrant and worked in different provinces across Canada, and wondering, we've talked about, the quote unquote the Canadian workplace culture, and the question is there actually one way to do things into 2025, knowing how diverse companies are, and I think the question reflects diverse the provinces are. So are there resources to better understand what this could mean for, let's say, employers? I know this is my ad for employers, but also maybe for immigrants who are looking to understand the Canadian workplace culture. And that's I'm not sending this to anybody in particular. If any of you want to jump in here.
We do have number of programs that we base them on modules, learning modules for EDI, as we call it, equity, diversity, and inclusion. If anyone is interested, they can reach out to us, and we are more than happy to share all of those resources. Some of them are within a program that, again, we have a name for it. Some of them are just resources that we find very interesting, and we are more than happy to share it with anyone who is interested. So please reach out to us.
Okay.
I mean, there is no one way to do things, and that's not in a city, not sometimes not even in a company, depending on the size of it, depending on where you're working there. What we're really talking about and what we're trying to support people on are those broad strokes, and it's just sort of those foundational pieces on, generally, if you were to think of any Canadian workplace, what would typically be expected? But like, could we tailor it to Best Buy? Could we tailor it to Lindsay Construction or whoever? Absolutely, we could, and we're willing to do that for folks. But I don't think that's practical for most small businesses to have us come in and do that.
Sorry, can I add something? Patrick, I don't know if you knew about this. We are actually doing something for Best Buy right now. I forgot to mention that to you.
Yeah.
A huge organization like Best Buy, who has a very, very actually large HR department, reached out to us because we had a couple of sessions with them, and they are looking for a specific training for a specific group of new hires that they are doing for the Langley office. And our learning team right now are putting together a very comprehensive but also very easy to understand based on the need of Best Buy to just share for that group of new hires. So we can create those type of training modules, information for you as well. And again, the Navigator project that I mentioned is where you can find all of those resources. Sometimes you can find them within the platform itself. But again, if it's not there, a navigator, a person will communicate with you immediately, meet with you, and understand your needs and find the resources you are looking for.
Excellent. Sorry, Sam, I didn't want to cut you off. I wasn't sure if you wanted to add in there. No?
I would just want to share a personal experience about this because when I came 13 years ago to Canada, I contacted this immigrancy agency. I don't remember the name, one of those in Vancouver. And then they recommend me to take that Canadian culture course or something. It was like a short one, but very comprehensive and very detailed to understand what Canadian culture is and how different it is from what we are bringing from other countries. And I remember there are a couple of jokes in the classes as well about the things about, like, we learned very detailed things, as like even like how many meters you should stand from a Canadian kind of things, because there are many different cultures, like melting in one pot eventually in Canada, but sometimes different cultures have different customs and habits that they do. So they were telling us what are the expectations when you talk and you don't interrupt people, those kind of things. So there were many different things that they taught us, and I found it very useful. And Elham, thank you very much for sharing those resources. I really highly recommend those courses or information about that. And I remember one funny thing I want to share here. It's just when I first, my very first time I started at a company, it was a very big mining company. And I was so a little bit shy in the first day. And then I needed to meet with the director of the company that day, my second day. And he was going to give me some work, I guess. And I went there and then knocked his door, and it was open. And even if it was open, I still knocked the door. And then he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Just, can I come in?" He's like, "Yes, the door is open. Why are you knocking on the door?" It's just like, I'm so sorry. And out of respect, and I didn't know we can use their first name. I was always saying Mr. Patrick, Mr. Alex, kind of things. So it takes some time to learn these things. I mean, these are not the huge ones, but then also I really believe that companies should really prepare the workplace culture for for the commerce as well. It's very important. I mean, they cannot always expect that newcomers are learning everything. They can be perfect in day one. That's, they just need to create this welcoming environment with their teams as well. So that could be a good match, like a mutual agreement almost.
Sim, that's a really important point, because it's not like onboarding, bringing any new employee in. There are hiccups. There's going to be bumps, and so we want to disabuse employers or any hiring manager sort of the assumption that, well, all of a sudden hiring an immigrant's a challenge. Okay, sure, yeah, there's a challenge, but it's a variation of the challenge you're facing already in hiring. I mean, I like to say this. I've made more mishires from Canadian-born and educated people than I ever have with immigrants. Truthfully, and that's long before I started here. And so it's I think just stepping back and having that perspective on it.
Yeah, I agree, Patrick. I think in terms of the hiccups and such, and also a recognition by employers that you have to invest the time regardless of who you're hiring to make it work. And Sim, I have an open door policy, but I know, like, I would always knock when I knock on people's doors as I'm going in. So it's also, it's not just Canada. It might actually be employer specific too, right? And
Yes.
Yeah.
what some people want. A really good question here. I can't believe I didn't ask it in tandem. Obviously, as small businesses, we're always concerned about costs, training resources. Can you talk a little bit about fees? If it's fee based, is there a range? Employers who are interested in getting access to some of these tools. Can you talk to us about the cost?
By and large, ours are free to an employer. So you can come to us with that assumption. There are some minor exceptions. Sometimes, like, if you need something completely tailor-made for your company, that's the tailor-made bit is likely not going to be free. If there's a sort of investment like that needed. But that said, accessing the programs that we have, it's almost always free. And without getting into sort of too much of the detail or the sausage making, it depends on kind of who has been paying for the services. So with some government departments, when they fund us to develop a program, they'll be very clear, and it can only be used to serve this type of person. And there's a kind of a very tight definition. But then others, it's sort of everything is sort of come one, come all, and because of the way we've tried to structure our programs and our funding and our revenue, typically we have enough wiggle room to be able to provide almost everything for free.
All right. That is a very encouraging answer. That's I think a lot of small businesses would like to hear that. We have a couple more questions here that had come in that I'd like to try and get to, just so folks know. I know we've been talking a lot of different resources, and there have been some that we've been putting in the Q&A. We'll also, for everybody who registered for this, be sending out an email, and we'll put in some extra links and some contact information. So watch for that probably later today, depending on our team's capacity, but it will be shortly, or at least this week. So look for that as well. So I'm going to try, just in the interest of time, combine two questions that we had received. And I want to sort of put the small business lens on this. It is Small Business Week after all. And, do you have any tips and that you could provide to small business owners, both in terms of, creating a better onboarding experience, and, how do you overcome the challenge of, building that small team? And sometimes I think, small businesses are a little picky, right? And the question is, am I just being too picky and adding to my small team? So, are there tips to the onboarding, and how do you maybe get over that challenge of being too picky? Throw it out to anyone again.
Sim, you're the expert. Do you want to start, and I can follow you?
I wonder.
Because I'm gonna again talk about Ascent for employees, so I don't want to repeat myself again.
Oh, good. Thank you. I just want to clarify what picky means here.
I would guess picky probably means
The person.
Not finding the right person, maybe thinking they need to, that their skill set is not what they need or what they expect to have when they arrive at a job. Okay,
so we have two questions. Okay, understand. So with the onboarding, I would like to say that it is very important to make sure that the company has a very good designed orientation program. And that orientation program shouldn't be only like created by the HR and put in the folder. It should be spread out, shared, and trained to all the hiring managers, supervisors, and senior managers. There should be lots of meetings about that to make sure that everyone is on board, that understanding what our onboarding system is. And then discuss things and make sure it is applicable throughout the company, and checking the timings, checking the costs, because onboarding is could be a very costly thing to do, because depending on the busy days I remember that I couldn't find sometimes supervisors to train the first, like the hire, and the day I'm like, where is the supervisor? So it's organizing first, creating a very solid onboarding package system, and make sure that you have the buy-in, make sure make sure everyone knows that in the company. And then before the onboarding time comes, again, sending heads up notifications to everyone who's going to involve in the process. Make sure that they can have enough time to spend with the new coworker. So because it is very bad first impression for the new hire when they see that they have to wander around, sit for 2 hours for no one is coming. that's like they just start just building some things in their minds. I'm like, I don't know about this company, we'll see, we'll see. So we don't want that question marks in their minds. We want them to be very content, and then we want to also meet their expectations, because as again, I'm gonna say it's a mutual agreement here that we are signing contracts together. We say we're gonna help you, you're gonna help us. So I think being welcoming, being prepared, programmed is very important. The other part is being picky. When my hiring managers are very, very picky, I was sitting with them and just like interviewing them a little bit, saying, what do you want? Like, seriously, what is it important that you don't want this person? You tell me, so you train me, so I understand your needs. Let's just clarify the difference. Like, is it really you don't want it, or you have biases about that situation? So it's important to understand what they are really thinking about in that specific thing. It might be also based on previous experiences, and then they say, no, I don't want it because it happened in the past. So we can discuss. So I really think it is based on communication and understanding what really are thinking, instead of saying, okay, I don't want it, like whatever, move on. No, let's just sit down and have an open conversation about that, because it's very important. So yeah, I really believe these two things are.
If I may add to what Sim, thank you, Sim. It's very important. You are right. The culture and the belongings and communication, clear communication with the new um, hires are very important. ICBC, we are a SME. We are a small to medium sized employers ourselves. And what we do other than onboarding, and Patrick is very adamant about making sure that our team members are feeling involved. Everything has been shared with them. They are a part of decision making with us. The other thing we do other than onboarding is we meet with them on the 30, 60, and 90 days. In these sessions, the direct manager will meet one-on-one with the new hire to hear how was the progress, how was the experience so far, what's worked for them, what's didn't, if they have any challenges, if they have any blockages, how we can support them. And in these sessions, it's really all about understanding their experience and their journey in the first month, second month, third month. And this will help them to grow and understand the company, as well as we understand their needs as well. Each individual should be treated different. We can't treat all of our employees exactly the same. They have different might have different expectation based on the different role they have, different preferences. So understanding where they are and what are their needs, I think it's very important. But there are a lot of onboarding tools that you can find right now. There are even different platforms that you can use. It's not as expensive for SMEs. I believe you get a discount as well if you're a SME right now. We are using PerformYard right now at ICBC, but there are much cheaper or maybe more reasonable platforms for you that help you with some resources, some tools that you can share with your employees as well. But at the end of the day, it's really about making that connection with your new hire and making sure they feel they are part of the team.
Yeah, and once again, it strikes me with your answers that this is not that's the same as applies to any new hire, right? To create a place where they want to work and they want to feel valued. LM, your tip around the 30, 60, 90 day is just a very tangible tool and tip. I think if you can set those meetings in advance, and whether you're a team of 3, and I've worked for the provincial government that has 35, 40,000 people. I've worked for small businesses that have 5. You can set up some of these things and implement them. I think one of the key takeaways I just took from that is, though, having that onboarding plan is important, whether you are a small company or a big one. We really only have time for like one quick question, or one quick I'm interested in, and then need to turn it over. So maybe just Patrick, you talked about the continuous conversation, And it's not so much a question, I must admit. You talked about some going to Victoria or LM. Maybe you were saying this about Victoria and Nanaimo. I guess the offer to IECBC is obviously the BC Chamber of Commerce. We've got connections across the province. If it is a desire to have that continuous conversation, I'm excited, and I'd, once again like to offer up the BC Chamber as a conduit through having that conversation, if that is something that is of keen interest to you.
Absolutely. I mean, the BC Chamber and its members, I mean, are key to this whole conversation. I mentioned sort of at the start, like not only do we have these practical sort of solutions and programs that we're developing with employers, but we think right now, actually, we don't think, I know we're at a critical inflection point for the country. We're I mean, you can always say it's always uncertain times. Absolutely. But you usually have uncertain times with players on the board that you can at least trust to be rational. And one of the biggest players in the world is anything but that. At a time where we're seeing a lot of worry about the economy. I mean, the prime minister is going to get on television today as a primer for the budget that's coming on the 4th of November. Generally, they're not getting ahead of the game for great news. All right, like that's so we've got a lot to be worried about there on the immigration system. There are a lot of conversations out there. You've got political leaders saying, well, kill the temporary foreign worker program, except for agricultural workers. There's a lot of nonsensical things being said right now, but that are coming from places of real concern. And so what we're desperate to do, and we're spending a lot of our time doing, is better understanding what each of you need and bringing that to Victoria and bringing that to Ottawa in particular to help shape sort of government policy, government programs. I said, immigration is neither good nor bad. It can be done well or it can be done poorly, but it's going to happen.
Right.
And so it's up to us to make sure that it's done well for businesses. And that's not to commodify people. That's not to dehumanize people. If it doesn't work for the economy, it doesn't work for the individuals. And that I will fight. I'll argue, to my last breath on that one. And so, I'd ask that folks who are on the line here now do look into these feedback forums that we're doing, and do come and participate in all of the ways in which we're trying to engage, so that we can bring your message to policymakers. And and the BC Chamber is a tremendous partner in that. And so, Alex, we're grateful that you'll have us here today to meet folks. So thank you.
Thank you. So with that, I mean, I learned a lot. I thank you for the discussion. I have a bunch more notes and places I wanted to go, but of course, time is too short. So Patrick, Sim, LM, thank you very much for taking the time to join us today and sharing your expertise. And before we end the session, I would like to take a moment just to introduce Alex Zane, a program manager from BC Hydro, our presenting sponsor. Just say a few words and share some information with us on their energy saving program. Alec.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. Thanks, Alex. I do want to be quick here. I'm cautious of time, but I just want to say it's been great to hear sort of how inclusive hiring has strengthened small businesses by tapping into newcomer talent, and also hearing the struggles that you may be facing. With that being said, here at BC Hydro, we don't just see resilience in people, but we also see sort of that resilience in how businesses adapt. And that is why we want to definitely promote one of our demand response for business program offer. I would encourage everyone to check it out. It is risk-free. And lastly, I just also wanted to say that I do appreciate the conversation today. I actually used to work in HR here at BC Hydro for 5 years. So I'm definitely familiar with sort of what you're talking about and all that stuff as well. So with that being said, I'll pass it back to you, Alex.
Thank you very much, Alec. Appreciate that, and appreciate BC Hydro's support for our Small Business Week Summit. It's very much appreciated indeed. And as well to Chamber Plans, the employee benefits, and to IEC BC, Immigrant Employment Council of BC, and our community sponsor, BCIT School of Business and Media. With that ends the second of our 4-part session. We're halfway through Small Business Week Summit. Tomorrow, we hope to see you at our next session titled AI in Action, Practical Ways to Save Hours Every Week. If you haven't registered, please feel free to do so. You can find the link through bcchamber.org under events. And with that, once again, thank you to our guest today. Thank you for joining us this morning. I hope you have a great and safe day, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.